Hey everybody, welcome to Film Fanatics. We're doing a special episode. We're going to be doing DC month because these guys are wanting to be nice to me, I think. or
Well,
maybe...
it's not a whole month, really.
No.
It's just this episode.
Well,
Yes,
because we've had a couple recent releases this year, and it's culminating with the combination of Suicide Squad, which will be the first thing we're talking about. We'll also be talking about Killing Joke, was released recently. And we decided we were going to check out the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs. Superman and kind of culminate in an overall DC discussion about the future of these movies and everything in general.
We sort of started talking about how Suicide Squad's really the only big release of the week that we wanted to cover. So how do you build a show around it? And I think it'll be good,
You think it'll
Sounds
be
like
good?
fun.
A good show.
A good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well,
a good discussion.
I guess, Dan,
shall we say.
I'll be starting with Suicide Squad.
Yeah, let's start with Suicide Squad. We'll talk about then some of the recent trailers, and then we'll get into the other movies.
All right, some trailers as well. Apparently, this one had a really low rating again, much like Batman vs. Superman from critics. And
27 currently.
27
keeps going down.
Oof. And yet, fans apparently are raging against the critics for having opinions. I don't really get it.
Well, I think they don't understand how Rotten Tomatoes works.
It's like, I think there's some guys
it's just an aggregator.
I guess...
Yes, because film critics are the reason the DC universe is having trouble.
Well, look... obviously, a lot of people like to put investment in the tomato meter. We even talk about it weekly.
We do.
Because it is a good general consensus for what the critics and the audience think. And every time I say this, I'm always like, look, there are two sides. People talk about the tomato. They don't talk about the popcorn. You could have, Batman vs. Superman, good example. It's like 28% critics hated it, but 60-some% of the audiences loved it. So, we don't know. But going into Suicide Squad... basically in this one, Amanda Waller, played by, what's her name?
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis is gathering everybody together. She's looking for the best criminals / metahumans to combat the recent threat that the whole Batman vs. Superman debacle created. And that includes some people like Will Smith playing Deadshot. You've got Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. And you've got some other people, like that one guy from Oz is Killer Croc. But I can never remember his name.
Leto is the Joker.
Leto is the Joker, of course. Big star, though.
Yeah.
Not quite as in the movie as much as advertised, perhaps.
No, I would say not.
No, but basically they're gathered together because one of the villains that works for the newly joined Suicide Squad, the Enchantress, goes off on her own little plan to dominate the world, including summoning her ancient brother, and they have to go save the city and
played by Eyebrows.
Played by Eyebrows. I couldn't remember her name.
Carrie
Eyebrows
Dowling.
from Paper Towns.
Yep.
The girl. And save the world. And of course, and Joel Kinnaman is Rick Flag, who is the military liaison. I like to call him RoboCop 2014.
True.
Because it always gives me great memories of him. And
I guess so.
There's also there's Diablo. There's
Mr. Echo.
Mr. Echo.
Yep. Because Killer Croc had to be named twice, but
yes, Mr. Echo is Killer Croc.
Yeah.
If you guys know from Lost, and you've got Katana, who's I don't know if she's a somebody. She's got the sword thing. But yeah, that's basically the plot. At the same time, Jared Leto's Joker is trying to go get Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn back. Meanwhile, while they're having this giant escape battle, and Will Smith tortured and maybe not necessarily be a bad guy because he's Will Smith, so they have to destroy Deadshot's character for the movie. All right, reeling it in. All right, this is a movie that is a messy movie. It is a colossal mess.
please continue.
But it is a fun mess sometimes. Sometimes. I think if I could say one thing positive about the movie overall, it definitely feels like a comic book movie, which some comic movies do not. So there is a sense of fun, and I think it is trying to be that, which I like. I think that a lot of the actors are doing a good job. Some of these characters are perfect. Like Boomerang, if anybody's wondering, that is Captain Boomerang. That is him. So there's some things that are done well. I think the makeup for Killer Croc was good. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is unique.
The fluctuating accent was driving me crazy.
She tries the New York accent. I think she should have just given up with it. Jared Leto's Joker, he actually has more of a straight-up romance with her, which is different. He actually cares about her, which is kind of new, actually. But I guess I was okay with him. I think it's a little too early to judge. I think Will Smith was good as the leader role, but he's not really Deadshot, who's supposed to be this evil guy whose apparently his deepest desire is to kill Batman and yet we still care about him because he cares about his daughter. So there's a lot of fun, and there are some things that were surprising. I would say that some of the action works, but some of the fight scenes do not, particularly the ones involving the Enchantress, where a lot of them... Okay, well, of course, she uses her horrible, generic, floating sky death machine to turn everybody into mindless zombie things that are all faceless. They're like the easiest things you can animate. And then they fight her in total darkness. And, of course, because she's kind of a weak actress, they audio dub everything over her when she becomes the witch. Mm-hmm. And Rick Flag has this romance with her, but you don't really care because it's Rick Flag, and he's not really well-defined beyond his romance. So
he's really good with guns. That's about as much as he
Which
gets.
is funny because in the comics, he's really more of a hand-to-hand guy, and he's more of a... I'm sorry, Dan, he's more of a badass.
Okay.
Like he's a tough guy, but... Even though he's working with these criminals, he will take care of them. Like, he will run back for them, keep them in line. Here, he just didn't impress me. And even Deadshot keeps taking shots at him, metaphorically speaking. Like, nobody was intimidated by this guy, and he's supposed to be the leader. But, there were things like, I think Diablo had an interesting backstory. I kind of liked him. He was surprising. And then there were characters like Slipknot who were there to die, a.k.a. the guy who climbs things really well. There was a great soundtrack. Yeah, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it, so I think it was fun some of the time, messy some of the time. I want to hear what you guys think about it. As a comic book fan and just in general.
Based on your
I'm frustrated.
Comments about certain things and
I'm dropping
the reaction.
So much DC knowledge.
I can tell you right now, I like this movie better than both of you. Okay. Because Justin seemed to really agree with your colossal mess statement and maybe thought it was even an understatement.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way. I did think it was messy, for sure.
Okay.
Colossal, I think, is extreme. Look, the reviews have been coming in for a week on this movie. Horrible, horrible. I went in expecting this to be a huge letdown after what seemed like very promising trailers. I had a pretty good time with this one. Now, it is messy, like I said. There's a very non-cohesive plot.
There is no plot.
There's
basically no plot.
There's a plot.
It's a dumb plot.
It's a dumb plot.
It just goes in 18 different directions.
But, Davis is recruiting them. There's a plot. They're trying to get out. There's a plot.
I'll let you do your spiel, and then I'm going to tell you what kind of plot this was. Go ahead. No, look, I'll tell you. I'm not
saying this is the Citizen Kane of superhero movies. It's not.
I know it's not, but I have an exact description of what it is later.
All right.
Go ahead.
Good.
Go ahead.
I thought Roby did a good job as Quinn. I agree the accent was terrible. It was iffy, yeah. I
thought it was okay some of the times.
It was okay some of the times when it was there. Other times it was fading. But to be honest, they did not give her much to do but roll off one-liners and be cutesy.
Well, to be fair, they amped up. We were even questioning it while we were there. Why did they bring her?
Right.
For this world dominating.
She has a baseball bat. She's cute.
They should have hired the Joker. It would have been better.
I thought Leto's take on the Joker was strong, as expected. He always puts 110% into these roles. But as you mentioned, Joe, not in it nearly enough.
Sadly.
Because I do think his is one of the stronger characters. I don't have an attachment to any of these characters like you do, so I can't really say how they compared to their comic book counterparts.
Well, I'll tell you.
I thought Smith was okay as Deadshot. He was doing Will Smith.
Well, he is. Definitely. I can assure you, that is what he is doing.
Yeah.
So that's that. I feel like this movie is trying to cash in on Deadpool. I was going to say Deadpool first because of the violence, but also being more fun like all of the recent Marvel movies. Guardians obviously is part of that, but Civil War and some of the other ones. It's not even close to that range. But I think this is a step in the right direction after Batman v Superman. Now, we'll see how the ultimate cut of that grabbed us later in the show. But in terms of theatrical releases, this was much more enjoyable, I thought, to watch. Davis was excellent, as Davis is. Her character, though, had a little bit of a identity crisis, I think.
Of sorts.
No, Amanda Waller was portrayed pretty well by Viola Davis because I think that's the type of character she can play, and that is pretty much like the character.
Well, she's great.
Naturally.
They took that character to the utmost extreme. Like, just to give you an example, Amanda Waller would never kill her own people.
Okay.
So, for instance, like she is quite a mean woman, as they say in the movie,
Okay.
but they make her even meaner, which is fine for the movie.
Yeah.
For the violent tone and everything. So yeah, she was good. She was good.
I agree. The soundtrack is excellent. Some standards in there. I mean, but only so much you can do.
At times, though.
I didn't think so.
Introducing certain characters.
Yeah, I thought that's another thing I liked. I liked the introductions of the characters. Me having no idea other than Harley Quinn and the Joker who any of these people are. I liked the intros. I liked the little cutesy stat sheets. I mean, you can tell Warner's and DC is really trying to make their movies more fun. I think they are listening that, okay, every movie doesn't have to be super dark. The Marvel movies are making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
Try that. It wasn't as colorful as I thought it would be, though.
No, not quite.
In the intro, it's very
sequence.
colorful, and of course, you have the red and blue of Roby's hair.
There's a cool sequence
pretty
with
dark.
With Leto and Roby with the pit. And
Yes.
The tank. That's pretty
Oh, yeah,
colorful.
true. That was very pretty.
It was good.
Kind of frightening, but
And romantic, I guess, depending on who you talk to.
I don't like that.
The goo?
I don't like that we're raising up Harley Quinn and Joker as the romance du jour. It makes me really angry
in this
that
movie,
young dummies are looking at that and saying, "Oh my God, how romantic!"
Well, look,
easily one of the most abusive relationships
yeah,
of all time.
I mean, he is her abuser.
That's the thing, though.
100%.
In this movie, not quite as much.
Really?
Comparatively,
well, you
no.
see it though.
Compared to
for
the
sure.
animated series, this is
honestly,
tame.
like I said, he actually legitimately seems to love her in this, which in any other iteration is he just uses her and manipulates her. So
well, fair. That's fair. Then
it's still messed up, but not quite as bad. No.
And you mentioned the overdubbing of the voice of the witch.
With eyebrows?
Horrible. Oh man, is it bad?
It was like watching a Japanese movie. Dub.
Yep.
Because sometimes her lips weren't even moving when the words would go. Like they did not splice that together well. All right, Justin. Well, let's have it.
The truth.
Well, I'll give you this much, Dan. It's a definite improvement. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt and say a slight improvement. Now, I was actually really looking forward to this one because I think the big thing the DC Universe needs to accomplish if they want to even remotely try to keep up with Marvel is they need to try and have some fun. Batman v Superman is dark, dark, dark. Man of Steel, kind of joyless.
Tim Burton was kind of fun, right?
Yeah, but that was late 80s,
that was
early 90s.
20 years ago.
We need to get out of the quite literal dark ages, is my point. Pardon the pun. But
it's fine.
Suicide Squad really, really wants to have a good time. And it really, really, really wants to be Guardians of the Galaxy in that regard in terms of morally questionable, quote-unquote, protagonists trying to do good. And succeeding, I'm going to say 30% of the time. And I think that's less the fact of the performances. I think Will Smith's trying to be Will Smith. It's just he's past his prime. Margot Robbie, I actually liked when she was doing her own thing. It was when somebody clearly tried to go for fan service and make her do the Tara Strong accent that, yes, it's iconic, but it's not her Harley Quinn. I'm sorry.
That's the thing that came in and out all the time.
Yeah, it's like I feel like a Warner exec was like, no, shoot for fan service.
I did like the shot of them together in the classic outfits.
I did,
cool.
and then we never saw it again. It was kind of pointless. But
I wouldn't say it was pointless. They actually captured that one comic book cover pretty well. I don't know if you caught
I'm not
that.
familiar now.
Well, it's like the scene where they show them dancing in the classic outfits. Like it was done like the Bone Panther comic. It was pretty cool.
But my point is it holds no water.
It was fan service, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the biggest issue we have here. It's like, yes, you're trying to appease fans, but appease fans with solid storytelling, editing, things like that. It's glaringly obvious in every frame what director David Ayer, who admittedly does have a spotty career, cough, cough, sabotage, and what Warner wanted were two entirely different movies. And in this amalgam of a film, we seem to be getting constantly clashing tones and concepts and character development, things being placed in odd directions, and really, really super fast editing that, I mean, there are shots out of focus. There's the little cutesy checklist thing I thought was clever, but they fly it by so fast that you literally can't read half the things that they're writing down.
That was a little fast.
Yeah. I mean, the first scene, the first, like, establishing shot for the movie, where they're, like, trying to give the location, is literally so dark, I couldn't see what the heck they were saying. This is a problem. This is a huge, huge problem.
Well, I think they are going for the wacky craziness. That might be intentional.
But make it apparent. When I'm not able to see the punchline, you're not doing the joke right.
How the humor grab you, speaking of which.
But the humor, I thought fluctuated. Like, the best thing I can say about this movie is the cast is absolutely game. Will Smith is trying to have fun with it, trying to give us a complicated character, oftentimes not well written, and the brief moments with Batfleck, who, I'm sorry, I know Warner's trying, Batfleck is not working.
What?
You are like the only one. I think
I love
Ben
the fact
Affleck as Batman.
We were all saying
huge
we need
success.
more Batman in that movie. Is what we wanted.
Yeah, that's all I wanted in this movie.
Like that scene with him showing up with Will Smith, I was
Loved
like,
it.
yeah. And then like
He just doesn't have the presence.
All right, but we can get into that debate later with the ultimate cut.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole they work together well.
Okay.
I think for the Suicide Squad, they missed kind of the point of what Suicide Squad is a little bit in terms of.
What do you think the point?
In terms of traditional Suicide Squad characters, don't per se make it, and they end up pulling a civil war.
Justin, there are people that die in this and stay dead.
To varying degrees.
A character that I really liked died. So I mean, no, I think they got the point. Admittedly, yes, all the big players that are going to be in the sequels, theoretically, that everyone knows, like, are going to come back.
Gonna kill the Joker.
But like,
no,
Killer Croc, he's a Batman villain, he'll stick around. Or Harley Quinn, obviously, or Deadshot. Villain number 29 from this one random comic, he's dead. But that's fine. You got to have some death, but they're not going to kill off their main players in their first movie, Justin.
No, I suppose not.
But they got the general idea, I think, in that sense. Personally, as a side note, I've always preferred their actual technical name, Task Force X.
Oh, interesting.
That was really awesome.
It's way too 90s.
It's like I say,
that is pretty 90s.
It's very 90s, but hey, it's good.
I want to get back to a comment though. Will Smith is past his prime, and so he wasn't that good in this.
Shots fired.
And you did say later he was good. So what did that comment?
I mean, he's having fun, but I mean, this is not. I feel like he's trying to get back to like MIB and all the other like big blockbusters. The original Independence Day.
His youth.
Yeah. His youthful big blockbuster. Like I'm the fun guy kind of.
He made the right call to do this over Independence Day Resurgence or whatever, Resurrection.
Well, no argument there, but I'm saying he doesn't have the same
that.
charisma that he had in his prime.
See, in Focus, which was, obviously piled with Margot Robbie,
but he didn't like Focus or Concussion. So the last couple of movies from Will Smith that we liked a little more, he did not.
I do think Will Smith has done better, but I also think that he's still Will Smith. What I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is great as Iron Man. He's certainly older than Will Smith. Just because Robert Downey Jr. was drugged up in his 20s and 30s and Will Smith was making blockbuster movies, I don't think that means he's past his prime.
Well, look, I would say this. I think that he's trying to play against type with this character, and if they had actually done Deadshot the way he is in the comics,
it might have been kind of brave.
Yeah, he's playing Will Smith. I admit that.
Specifically changed the character to make him more sympathetic and more of an anti-hero, which for the movie is fine, and I'm actually okay with. Like, I don't care enough about Deadshot to, like, rail against
How dare you change this?
But Deadshot is a cold, sadistic killer who cares about no one but himself.
Okay.
Which is fine,
Hey, why not?
Yeah.
All right, well, Joe, what is your final grade on Suicide Squad?
Before I say it, I just want to say that this movie had a plot like you'd see for those random crossovers that are meant to just sell to get a bunch of people to fight, a lot of, some cool artwork without actually anything, to combine it together, but you still enjoy it.
Okay.
It's purely fun in that way. It's messy, far from perfect, but I still kind of enjoyed it. Leave with a B-.
I'm right with you. I agree it's messy, but I mean, is it any worse than some of the lower tier Marvel movies like A Dark World, Iron Man 3? I had a lot more fun watching this, I'll tell you that.
I like this better than Thor, I can tell you.
It's a B- for me.
I'll tell you what, gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
If it weren't for the last, I'm going to say 5 minutes of this movie, it would have been a C. But it's because of the ridiculously goofy and completely random ending that it ends up with a C-.
Well, they got to put that plug in for the Justice League movie.
Well, before we talk briefly about our last two films, the Wonder Woman trailer and the Justice League trailer obviously were released last week at Comic-Con. Huge buzz, about them. We like them. We don't like them.
I like them.
Yeah, I like them too. I like that the Justice League one specifically is clearly going for the Marvel
goofiness.
Wink, wink, goofiness with the Ezra Miller Flash character, who I'm excited to see more of. I mean, he makes a very brief appearance in this, in Suicide Squad. But, I like his exchange. But it's easy to make a trailer look like the movie is fun.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to be once they actually make the films. I guess they're in process of doing that now. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to both. I didn't know Chris Pine was in Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm actually personally more excited for Wonder Woman myself. I just think that showcasing her as being pretty much one of the best things easily about the Batman v Superman movie.
Okay.
I'm excited to finally get to see her do a movie end in World War I, which there aren't many great World War I movies anyway.
Right. That was World War II.
No, it's one. Good settings. Typically, it would be World War II is generally where it originally occurred, I guess, but they're doing World War I this time, which I'm fine with, just as a side note, but I think it visually looks cool. I'm excited for it.
Okay.
I think there's potential there for sure.
Well, and, this is another thing we'll hit on during the Dawn of Justice re-review here. But, Justin was not a huge Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman fan. True. What did the trailer do for you, Justin?
Yeah.
I actually really like the trailer. I'm still not entirely sure if Gal Gadot is up to the task. Mm-hmm. But I kind of lop Wonder Woman in the same camp as Doctor Strange. We're due for this movie. Let's make it happen.
Very true.
And I mean, I think it could be fun. I'm worried that it'll be divisive, sort of like First Avenger was, because it's not set in present day. Though, I mean, Wonder Woman did originate there, so I mean, why not run with it?
Well, she's a goddess, so she's immortal.
No, I get it.
So I mean, her going back in time, I think is appropriate. Whether or not
but does the trailer make you more on board with her as Wonder Woman?
Cautiously optimistic, I guess, would be the choice word.
Okay. I think you could say she definitely looks the part.
She definitely does look the part, but whether or not she's able to pull off the part, I don't know. As for Justice League, I kind of have mixed feelings. I'll give them this. I'm glad they're not doing, hey, let's make a Cyborg movie, let's make the Aquaman movie, and then we'll give you Justice League. But at the same time, Batman v Superman got a lot of flack for a lot of things. There are people who like it. I don't agree with them, but that's okay. I really think they need to start figuring out how can we sell this in a way that's approachable to people. The Flash thing, I'll give you this, Dan. I actually really did like his cameo in Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. But I hated his bit in the Justice League trailer. I thought it looked
trying too hard.
Not only just trying too hard, but looked campy. Looked really, really campy.
But, I mean, I guess that's closer to...
That's what sells Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's total camp, pretty much.
Feeling. I mean, does not get much campier than that.
Which is fine. Camp can be fun, as we know.
Camp can be fun, but there's an art to it, and I'm not entirely sure Warner's going to be able to pull that off.
What do you guys think about Mr. Aquaman? They're really shoving him in there. Mr.
Yeah,
angry, savage Aquaman.
He is Khal Drogo, but at the same time, he's still Aquaman, who I will never stop making fun of.
That's fine. I think I like Jason Momoa. He looks cool. He looks cool as Aquaman, and I guess those Aquaman fans are going to get their Aquaman in there.
I'm alright with any Aquaman movie that doesn't star Vinny from Entourage. Because that was the big bit in 3 seasons worth of Entourage. Oh, you're Aquaman. Yeah. So I'm fine with anything that's not Vinny Chase.
All right.
As Aquaman.
I'll give you that.
Okay, I'll never forget.
All right.
All right, well, let's move into Batman the Killing Joke. I don't know if you guys know this, but when they put this in the theaters for the 1-2 night only thing,
yeah,
the biggest Fathom event of all time.
What? I did hear about that.
This got a huge audience, which is why they added the second night. And now it's already enjoyed and available on DVD and Blu-ray. So, Justin, let's hear about Batman the Killing Joke.
After years of doing battle with the Joker, voiced supposedly for the final time by Mark Hamill, Batman, voiced once again by the iconic Kevin Conroy, visits Arkham Asylum to make a plea for peace. Until, as to be expected, his nemesis has escaped. The notorious clown prince of crime attacks the Gordon family, and the question of whether or not people are truly, and I quote, one bad day away from madness is put to the ultimate test. Tara Strong also lends her voice to Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl. The Killing Joke is one of the more revered Batman story arcs, and I kind of view it as, and I'm hoping Joe won't kill me for this.
I know what you're going to say.
Well, I'm not sure if you do. But
Okay. Go ahead.
I don't have any idea.
As a reverse Civil War. Civil War as a storyline by itself is really, really good. The aftermath of Civil War in the comics, not so great.
Okay.
In the case of The Killing Joke, I think the storyline's okay. It's not particularly great, but what it ultimately leads to in the comics, I think, is really cool.
I could agree with that to some extent.
Part of the reason I feel that way is a lot of it is a lot of material, and then it's just over. It's not as fleshed out as it should be, and it's a pity because it's a very, very complicated story, and it deserves that time. What I liked about this movie particularly is I feel like they tried to do a lot to compensate for its shortcomings. Even Alan Moore himself has admitted he's had a lot of issues with how the comic as a whole played out. And to be fair, this is an incredibly faithful movie adaptation, equally as dark, I would argue even darker. But one of the things I actually really liked is, and I know a lot of DC fans are incredibly critical of this, is we actually get to know, we actually get a lot of context as to who Batgirl is as a person before things happen that lead to bigger and more sinister consequences.
Could you expand on that, Justin? I'm not sure what you mean.
Like in the comic, she's there and then said controversial event happens and it's shocking, but it's nowhere near as tragic as it should be. In this, we actually get some build up. There's a side story. I know a lot of comic book fans were livid about that edition, but I think it adds a lot of, okay, this is who she is, this is actually defining her character, we actually get development for that character, and then we get said big controversial moment.
I guess in context of the film I can understand what you're talking about, but in regards to the comic, if it opens with said event, Batgirl's been Batgirl for like 20 years or more at that point. If it happened to her, I think people would be upset and know who she is.
Yes, but this is still treated as a standalone story, Joe.
Not
so
anymore.
You still need to establish the characters to go through the general arc.
Not for comic book movies. I would make an argument against that a lot of the time, to be honest. That's not always the case.
Not always the case, but you still need to give us some idea of who these people are. Really, what I think is the main staying point for this movie is truly Mark Hamill, who's giving 110%. I think he does a fantastic job as Joker, and I think he manages to play both the traditional Joker that we know from the animated series, as well as the tortured individual before the events that lead to him being Batman's nemesis, and absolutely rocks both spot on.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, this is actually one of the few movies I've seen this summer that didn't really disappoint me. So I'm curious to see where you guys stand up on it.
Well, as you can imagine, mine's pretty short because I'm not familiar with the comic at all. So, Joe, why don't you address some of Justin's statements?
Which statements would you like me to address?
Any and all, because there's a lot of things he said that I can't really speak to.
All right. Well, I guess I could say that the film in and of itself works for establishing Barbara for people that may not know or care about Batgirl, at all. Wouldn't be able to understand the shocking nature of, the impetus of the story, but, you gotta understand her, define her more as a character, where she was at that point. I do agree it is a good addition. I would argue the movie doesn't go anywhere near far enough into it, though, to really justify it being there. Because what I went to see was The Killing Joke. That's about half the movie.
That was my problem with it. Okay.
Hold on, Dan.
Sorry, I know. I don't have much to say, but that is one.
No, hold on.
It's a huge problem I had with it.
I talked about this at length on my channel, so part of me doesn't want to really talk about this all again. I had problems with this movie.
Of course you did.
And I think a lot of them are legitimate, and I think I have some backup on this one. I think I do.
We've talked. We've
look,
gone head to head
Justin,
about this.
Justin, it's fine. I get what you're saying. I have no problem with Barbara Gordon being established.
I know you don't.
I don't. I'm fine. I think that the first part of the movie, learning about her, is great. But it really just feels like it's a really short, kind of underdeveloped Batgirl movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, she gets shot. Spoilers. I don't know why we're dancing around this. It's the Killing Joke. And then it's all about the Batman-Joker dynamic because of that around Gordon and what happened to her. Because in the story, yes, once again, we already know what happened to her is bad because of her relation to Gordon. It's about how it affects Batman and Joker and their dynamic. And this is kind of the point that pushes him to the edge. Mm-hmm. That's what the story's about. So, while I do agree that it's nice to establish her character, if we're going to do that, let's intertwine it. Let's make it more extended. And let's not add in random sex scenes that are supposed to add development to characters and make it mean more, but they don't because they don't expand on it. As just one example. And that's kind of where a lot of my frustrations went. Now, you are right. When it actually gets to the Killing Joke, it is almost scene for scene, line by line, great adaptation. Mark Hamill is the man. Kevin Conroy is the man. Bruce Timm, his team, the best. Half this movie is an A+. Half this movie is great. It's perfect. But you don't need to see it because you can just read the comic exactly the same. Watch it all over again.
But it would also be 45 minutes long.
Exactly. So we have to flesh it out with half of another movie we're going to lodge in. And that's my biggest problem with it. I also didn't like the animation, which didn't seem that good for a big budget feature.
Yes, I agree.
From these people who are masters in the clashing CGI. And why was it R-rated when they say frig instead of the other F word which mobsters say?
True.
No need to be R-rated. That's
the sex scene, probably.
The sex scene with no nudity or anything. All right, whatever. Done. I had some problems with it, but you're right. Half the movie was great.
Well, that's basically what I wrote. I mean, there's just too much time spent on Batgirl for a movie this short. I don't mind the backstory.
Make it longer, right?
But make it a 100-minute feature, instead of being half Batgirl, half the Joker.
This isn't your typical direct-to-DVD thing. You guys are getting this big... You're doing the adaptation of one of the most revered comics of all time. Make that 2-hour epic.
And Hamill as the Joker is so classic. One of the best Jokers there is. People want to see more of that. And maybe not so much of the Batgirl backstory. I liked the Joker flashbacks. I liked the singing.
I was going to ask about the singing.
That was fine. Conroy's great, of course.
Yeah.
We know these things.
These don't even need to be said, really.
But he's also Batman pretty much the whole movie, and hardly Bruce Wayne at all, which I also didn't like. I sort of like seeing...
Maybe to hear his thoughts on certain relationships
that
happened in the movie?
Maybe. It might be nice. So, for me, this is actually one of the worst ones. Now, granted, I haven't seen all of them. Is that funny?
Yes. The Killing Joke, you think, is one of the worst ones.
Yeah. No, but this is from what you've shown me. Obviously, there's terrible ones. I'm saying from the ones I've seen.
It just that makes me sad.
Well... It is what it is. I mean, I usually give them fairly decent grades.
No, and that's the thing is, you'd think that if this group, the DC animated people, are doing the Killing Joke, they would make the best they could make. And
hey, the Joker part was great.
Yeah. But you're right. Justin's right. It should have just been a short film if they couldn't figure out what else to add and when to add it in.
But, that also speaks to the same thing we keep bringing up every time we talk about a DCAU. It's getting ridiculous that you're constantly getting slapped with the whole you can only do 75 minutes.
I don't get it. And please, guys, please
talk
to me about this. Why was it R-rated? Explain that to me. Where the
Fanatics.
Guys?
Yeah, honestly though, Suicide Squad's PG-13 and it's live action. This could have been PG-13 easily.
There's not much more blood than any of the other DC animated movies.
I didn't think so either.
They're going with the whole twisted dungeon thing, and
they don't really show us anything.
But tell me, Justin, what's worse in this than in the live-action Suicide Squad movie that got a PG-13?
The Croc eats people sometimes, and that's live action.
I agree with you, but let's be realistic here. Whenever things get, shall we say, provocative in a...
But Joe's right. The scene had no nudity.
It wasn't barely. It doesn't really count as a sex scene. It was the part before a sex scene. You see PG-13 movies where people are rubbing against each other and they are actually having sex.
I saw boobs once in Titanic.
My point exactly.
I agree.
And they were live action boobs
in the 90s.
In the 90s.
What are we talking about? What you know? What?
Well, of course, in the 90s they rated Hunchback G, so
Yeah.
we can't go by 90s standards.
Honestly, if you took out the
The
gargoyles,
MPAA is a broken system. I will never contest.
No, I don't know why this is rated R. I don't get it.
I don't get that either. But I had a lot of problems with it. I think that for the comic they're trying to adapt, I think it was very disappointing.
Okay.
I liked some of it a lot. Some of it I was just
I agree, the animation wasn't strong either compared to the other ones.
For a theatrical release, this special? Nah.
Well, now keep in mind, Joe, this wasn't meant to be theatrically released. They just had a huge fan reaction, so they put it in for a couple of days.
Let me reel it back then. Okay, let me reel it back. You're right. The fact that it's in theaters doesn't matter. How about the fact
that it's worse than their other DVD releases?
Under the Red Hood had better animation and was better written.
Oh, that I don't agree with.
Oh, I did. Oh, Mask the Phantasm from like 20 plus years ago is better.
That'll support. That I will support.
Yeah. You know what? That I don't even need to make another argument.
No.
You know,
Phantasm.
Even the CGI buildings in the background look better.
Yeah.
And like I don't know how that's possible. So.
All right. Well, what is your grade for The Killing Joke, Joe?
It's like a C plus.
That's C plus.
A minus.
One of the best for Justin. The worst one I've seen. Out of the, 6, I guess? Or 5 or 6? I know it's not a big repertoire.
I think he's leaning more towards the half of the movie that was actually The Killing Joke.
No, I actually was okay with that.
Batgirl thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it wasn't perfect, and would I have appreciated if they kind of smoothed it in with The Killing Joke, so it's not a 45-minute movie? Absolutely, but I don't.
Should have been a 100-minute movie.
That I will agree with.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, finally, and we'll do this rather quickly because we did already review this film, but the extended cut here of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, you can get it now on Blu-ray. I'm not going to go over who's who and
what happened in Batman vs Superman. Tell me.
But here's the deal: none of us really liked Batman vs Superman. Joe gave it the highest grade, the positive, right? B minus.
Yep. Yeah, barely.
I mean, Justin was down there. I think I was a C minus. Not good.
Really not good.
In theater. So, how did this one fare? Well, I think that the movie was not made great by the 3-hour cut, but it certainly makes a lot more sense. I felt earlier when we talked about it the first time that it took about a half hour to get a complete scene. And I now can stand by that statement 1,000% from the theatrical cut. Because everything in the first 40 to 50 minutes of this movie was cut so much that nothing really made any sense. You sort of get an idea of who Clark Kent is because it's a Superman movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know who the people are, but it's like, why? Jimmy Olsen's character may as well have not even been in the theatrical
Why are you
release
here exactly?
for the reasons, that they then explain tenfold, in here. There's some cool cameos that were not in the original. The Jon Stewart one I loved, kind of superfluous, but the Jenna Malone one added some weight to the story. Was DeGrasse Tyson in the first one?
I believe so.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
But God, say no to a project once in a while.
Please.
He can't.
I can't.
He can't. He's too cool.
He is cool, but he's losing his cool, quickly with the Ice Age franchise. No pun intended there. But the story just is so much more developed here. Some of it does seem a little bit superfluous, but most of it has its place. The 3-hour cut is too long. They should have pulled... what was the movie? Was it Ali that we watched? Where it was like the same basic time, but the director's cut just had 20 different minutes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what this needed. 2.5 minutes? 2.5 minutes.
Better minutes.
2.5 hours is fine for this movie. 3 hours is too long, but you cut out the right stuff...
You might get a better movie.
You might get a better movie. So, like I said, it's not great, but it definitely goes from pretty bad to at least good.
Oh.
I would not mind watching the 3-hour cut again.
Wow.
Yeah. So what do you guys think?
Well, I guess I'll go next. I think that I'm glad that they added in certain scenes to this one that made more sense, mostly because I felt that in the theatrical version, Superman kind of gets the shortchanged a lot. You get more of a sense of who he is from his perspective in the story. He doesn't seem like a zombie quite as much. Things make more sense. We get more scenes with him and Lois, with his mom. We get more of an investigation.
Yeah, I love the phone call to the mom.
The whole Middle Eastern debacle and why that was a big deal makes more sense because we see it.
Glossed over in the theatrical.
Barely there.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely an improvement. Even a couple scenes that actually add a little bit to Lex too, which I thought was impossible. So
he's still terrible.
He's still the worst part.
Eisenberg is still so bad in this movie.
But it does flesh things out a bit. However, I think that when you flesh it out to that point, it is too long.
Mm-hmm.
So my grade isn't really altered much by it.
Right.
But I think I would prefer this movie because I think it has less flaws because they take time to explain some things that you said were totally cut out.
So
it's like,
confusing.
And the biggest problem I have with the movie, which this does help, is that it feels more like a Superman movie as well, and they don't demonize him and just make him a side character as much.
Right.
And that was my biggest improvement. So Mix doesn't really
You mean
change
the
a lot.
incredibly stoic Superman?
I would say the incredibly silent Superman.
But I think it was a comment that Joe you made during the original review that this is basically a Batman movie.
It is
with other people sort of on the side.
Yeah.
This gives, like you
Batman,
said, Superman a much more fleshed out. This is really a Batman Superman movie.
Which is what I wanted to see.
Yeah. Justin, what'd you think?
Well, if we can remember way back when I gave my D plus, but I gave it a determinant and bet it all on Suicide Squad.
Ooh.
So I still can't call it a good movie. I really can't. And I will say Batfleck is terrible probably until...
I can't believe that.
I just don't understand the craze. He's wooden,
great.
He's obnoxious.
I love him.
He does not act the part.
How does he
I don't
obnoxious?
understand I just don't understand why everyone's like, oh, he's amazing. It is the most
He's a good Batman.
shoehorned in performance I have seen from probably any Batman.
Would you please explain the shoehorn part at least?
Like,
What?
he looks like he has no idea what he's doing.
He's
And
kicking ass as Batman to me.
Yeah, I think he's great. He's one of the best Batmans I've seen.
Every time I see him in the cape and cowl, I'm like, what the heck are you doing here? It just looks weird. It looks really, really weird.
Anyway.
But no, I think this definitely does a good job of fleshing out a lot of the weaker points of the theatrical cut. A lot of the dialogue is still pretty bad. The fight scenes got better. I really hesitate to call them good, though. One thing I actually really did like is they give a lot more context to the citizens at ground level. That was actually something I appreciated a lot from Man of Steel, and then we never really saw again. So I appreciate that callback. That's actually something I would like to see them do more of, because I think that's one thing that'll really help them distance themselves from the MCU in that regard.
Ground level stuff.
More ground level stuff. More. If you're going to go for realistic, go with a more open aspect of it.
I don't think they're going for realistic now, though. I think they're going to go away from that, probably.
Well, I guess maybe gritty is the word I'm looking for.
Gritty, maybe.
Yeah, and trying to make the DCU more fun, I definitely agree they're probably going away from more realism.
I mean, they just went in with Suicide Squad to straight evil magic woman without any explanation. Like, hey,
Yeah, true.
and the woman who summons the swords, spirits of people she kills every time, hey, it's a comic book movie, deal with it.
Why not? But as a whole, I think it's an improvement, but really only just.
How about Bruce Wayne? Is he good as Bruce Wayne? Because I think he's excellent as Bruce Wayne.
Speaking of fluctuating accent, he tries to do this whole New York thing, and it's.
I just think he's trying to speak quietly. Like
He's
Bruce
not
Wayne.
even. It's not even quiet. It's like he's trying to sound tough and charismatic, and then he'll sound weird and vulnerable.
He's gloomy. He's Bruce Wayne. Batman.
It's like, what angle are you trying to take, Affleck? I get it.
Dark Knight
You were
Rises.
trying to find a way to compensate for the weird miscasting controversy, but I'm sorry, Michael Keaton, you are not.
I mean,
I agree Michael Keaton's the best Batman.
I
but
can't disagree with that.
I think he's better than Christian Bale for sure.
I mean, swear to me. I mean, I don't miss those days. Swear to me. Come on, Justin. Come on.
At least they gave context to why they're doing that. Why the fans don't remember why he did that, I don't know.
Justin, because they give an explanation doesn't mean it's not stupid.
It's context in regards to that specific character. Is it bulletproof? No. But does it at least make sense to the character? Yes.
All right, well, Joe, are you sticking with your B minus?
It's, extra longer to fix things, but still a little too long for me, B minus.
Okay. I think B minus is a perfect grade for the ultimate cut.
Good.
I move my C minus up, but I would never watch the original version again of this film.
I probably wouldn't either.
Yeah, no. I would watch this one.
I might check this out one more time before I solidify this grade, but for right now it's a C minus.
All right, well, few DC movies out of the way then for this week. Next week we return to our regular format of all new movies. I mean, these were all new, I guess, but... Ish. Kind of. And you can join our Facebook group at Film Fanatics with an exclamation point and check out our 5-word reviews there, as well as on our Twitter feed, which is at Film Fanatics Pod. And thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next time.